All right, so this lesson is 1.07 exponents. So we're going to start with a warm-up. It's a review of classifying the numbers using the Venn diagram. That was a lesson that we covered last week, so hopefully you've got that down, but just a little bit more practice. So we have the set of real numbers. You have rational numbers, irrational. And we want to classify these. Now we have to be careful. -10/2. So really for this, it's best to go ahead and change all of these to decimals or integers. So -10/2, if you put that into the calculator, it becomes -5. All right, and the square root of, so let's back up. So -5 is an integer, so that would go in here. So it's not a whole number, it's not a natural number. Square root of 36 is 6. Now 6 is a natural number, so it's all of those. 0/8 simplifies to 0. That's a whole number, not a natural number. Actually, I should have written this as the square root of 36 like we see it. Square root of 140. So let's jump over to the calculator for that one. So square root 140. Okay, so that's definitely an irrational number because the decimal just keeps going on and on. Does not repeat, does not terminate. So this is the square root of 140 over here. 4/9. Okay, so that does not simplify. It's not a natural whole or integer, but it is a rational number because you can write it as a fraction. Square root of 4 can simplify to 2. So that's a natural number. So it's also a whole number, integer, all of those. Let's look at, -8 is an integer, so we're going to put that there. And then let's look on the calculator for the square root of 8. So we're going to do square root 8. Okay, long decimal does not terminate or repeat. So square root of 8 will go under here. And then -2.89. That's a terminated decimal, so it is a rational number. All right, hopefully that all makes sense to you. Let's go ahead and look at what this lesson is going to cover. So it is what the essential question is, what are exponents? Today I will evaluate terms with exponents so that I can use exponents for a shortcut for multiplication. I'll know I got it if I can analyze the given exponential problem. So let's just jump right in. So what is an exponent? We've already talked about squares. So the exponent is a base, a number raised to a power. So that's the exponent. So if we have 5 to the third power is how you read that. That's 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. All right, let's go on. My slides are not changing. There it goes. So let's go ahead and look at how that's done on the calculator. It's a little bit different than the square because it's to the third power. If you're going to square a number, you could use this one, but this one is what we need to use for the other powers. So if I have 5, I'm going to raise that to the third power, 125. Simple as that. All right, let's try a few of these. I'm just going to do a couple for this recording, and then you can pause the video and practice some others. So let's do 4 to the 4th power. So we're going to do 4, raise that to the 4th power. It's 256. All right, and I'm just going to kind of jump around, and you can go ahead and do the others that I don't put on here. So let's try 2 to the 10th power. So we're going to do 2, raise that to 10. So it's 1,024, because remember that's like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It just keeps going. All right, I want to show you this one. real quick. What is 2 to the first power? And that all, it's just going to have 1, 2. So you raise it to the first power, it's just 2. So that's just the number 2. Now, what do you think the 0 to the 23rd power would be? Now just think about that before we put the calculator up there. It's 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and raise that to the 23rd power. It's just 0. All right, you can pause the video and practice the other 4 problems. So what about when you have power of 1, which we just did, to the first power? It's just that number. And that's every time. You raise a number to the first power, it's going to be that number. But look at this one. Any number raised to the 0 power will be 1. So let's just look at that real quick on the calculator. I have 5. I'm going to raise that to the 0 power. It's 1. It doesn't matter even if I did 25 to the 0 power, it's 1. It's always going to be 1. So let's just practice this. I'm going to do the first one, and then you can pause it and practice the other 3 on your own. So we have, this is read as 8 to the 3rd power. So expanded would be 8 times 8 times 8. And the value, I'm going to go ahead and click out of these. I'm going to do 8 to the 3rd power, 512. All right, pause the video and practice the other 3 problems. Next thing, we're going to look at powers of 10. So you have this table that just, or this little diagram here. 10 to the first power is 10. 10 to the second power is 10 times 10 is 100. 10 to the third, 1,000. And so on, because you're just multiplying all the 10s together. Okay, so let's look at this statement here. Observe that n equals, when n is the exponent here, the number of zeros when n is a positive integer. So, for example, 10 to the 6th, there are 6 zeros. So let's look at that in a little more detail. So what do we notice about the zeros? This is exponent of 1, there's 1 0. Exponent of 2, 2 zeros. Exponent of 3, 3 zeros, and so on. You can observe that, pause the video if you need to. What about negative powers of 10? So this is where it gets interesting. So 10 to the negative first power is actually the same as 1 over 10. So it's 1/10, that's how you read that, and the decimal would be 0.1. All right, so let's look at that, and here's the 10 to the negative second. Okay, so I want to just show you on the calculator a couple of those. So let's do 10 to the negative first. Okay, there's my decimal. And let's do 10 to the negative second. There it is. It's a little different there. And we're going to be using this in a future lesson for scientific notation. So that's why you need to make sure you understand that. All right, if you talk about the zeros in the decimal, okay, if you have the number 10 and it's to the -1, the decimal gets moved over here. So there's no zeros right here between that decimal and the 1. And then you have the 1 0 here, so it's a little different with the negative versus the positive exponents. And then you have the -3, there's only 2 zeros. Okay, because it's actually, again, 1 over 10, 1 over 100, and then there's our decimal numbers. All right, so let's do a few together. What's 10 to the negative third? Use that calculator. You're going to pause this video and do the rest by yourself. Okay, so there it is, and that is read as 1,000th because this is the tenths, hundredths, and thousands place. Hopefully you remember all of that. So I have the 0 in front of the decimal, then I only have 2, and then a 1. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple, I'm going to do the negative ones. So let's do the 10 to the negative third power. Oh, we just did that. That's a repeat. Well, all right, then we'll do 10 to the negative second power. On the calculator, let's go ahead. 10, raise that, negative second. It's 100th. 100ths, because this is the tenths, that's the hundredths. So again, we have our 0 in front of the decimal, and then just the 1, 0, and then 1. So the 1 is actually in that second place to the right of the decimal. This one was the third place to the right of the decimal. All right, pause the video, practice these. Remember the words are just like 10 to the second power, or 10 squared, 10 to the fourth power, and so on. And then try to use your calculator to come up with these answers. All right, so there's a class kick activity that you can get some narwhal bucks and participation points if you send me a screenshot of your completed work to earn narwhal bucks. So you just need to log into class kick. The assignment name is Exponents. Use the tools to enter your answers here. You're just going to use the calculator. Use the online Desmos calculator. I will be viewing your work. Make sure you are participating. All right, let's look at one of these though. We know this is going to be, it should be 1 for the answer, but I want to show you how to enter this on the calculator. So here's a freebie for you. So you do need to put those parentheses, and then you're going to put, make sure it's a fraction. Let's see, what was it? 1/3. So we're going to put that 1 on top, the 3 here. We're going to make sure we put that out there. We're going to raise that fraction. What is it raised to? The 0 power. So I'm going to put my 0. Oops, it went in the wrong place. So watch, be careful there. You got to put it in that box, and then there's our answer. So always look at your display. See how that jumped around for me? So it is 1. So that's how you enter the fraction. All right, so we'll do one of these. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. I'm going to do 0.9 to the 4th power, and we'll see what that comes out to. So, should not have to put it in parentheses. So let's just check. 0.9, I'm going to raise that to the 4th power, and I get 0.6561, because this is a decimal, so it's 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9. So if our answer is there, there it is. And so A is the correct answer. Should know, hopefully, the answer to this one without even putting it in the calculator. All right, this is what is coming up for the rest of the week. There is no assignment or quiz, but make sure you go through the OMS lesson for exponents. We'll have a live lesson for this one. Standard form to scientific notation. And then you'll have a recording lesson for this one and a quiz. All right, please make sure you're completing your lessons. If you have any questions, just reach out to me.